A terrifying night out. The movie begins with Violet, a woman who is hurt and bleeding on the ground. Her husband, Blake, shows up and kicks her badly. He then points a gun at her, but soon gives it to her, telling her to shoot him. Years later, a new life and a threat. Years pass, and Violet is doing much better. She now works as a therapist, helping women who have been through domestic abuse. One morning, a man named Henry texts her, asking her out. Soon after, a man claiming to be from the electric company arrives to check the meter. Violet lets him in without thinking much of it. That evening, Violet is playing with her son Toby. Her sister Jen arrives to babysit Toby while Violet goes on her date. Before leaving, Violet reminds Jen that Toby needs to be asleep by 8 p.m. and that she'll be watching them on the CCTV cameras. The date begins. Violet arrives at a fancy restaurant, high up in a building. In the elevator, Henry texts that he'll be 10 minutes late and tells her to wait at the bar. Violet goes to the bar and meets a friendly bartender named Kara. She orders a drink and admits she's nervous about this first date. An old man named Richard then approaches her, thinking she's his blind date, Diane. Violet corrects him, and he apologizes, explaining he's waiting for someone. They both wish each other luck with their dates. Suddenly, a man named Phil tries to flirt with Violet. Kara quickly steps in, telling him Violet is on a date, and he leaves. Kara apologizes, saying Phil is the new piano player and flirts with everyone. Just then, Richard's date, Diane, arrives, and they go to their table. A mysterious message. Violet texts her sister when a strange meme pops up from DigiDrop, an app like AirDrop. She looks around and sees other people on their phones, wondering who sent it. Finally, Henry arrives and tells Violet how beautiful she looks. They go to their table, which has an amazing view of the city. Henry, who is a photographer, pulls out a small hockey puck, a gift for Toby, which touches Violet. A waiter named Matt comes to take their drink orders. Violet gets another DigiDrop meme, this time telling her not to ignore the message. She shows it to Henry, and they look around, assuming it's just some prom kids playing a prank. A frightening discovery. Soon after, Violet gets another message from the dropper, telling her to check her home's security cameras. She does, and sees Toby and Jen in the bedroom. But then, her heart stops when she sees a masked man in the living room, holding a gun and staring at the camera. Henry asks what's wrong, but another message tells her to keep quiet. Shaken, Violet pretends to go to the bathroom and tries to call 911. But another message appears, saying her phone has been copied and they can see everything. It warns her that if she leaves the restaurant, her son will die. In the bathroom, Violet tries to ask a group of girls for help, but another message warns her not to. Desperate, she borrows eyeliner and tries to write "help" on her hand. The girls don't understand and leave. Violet frantically looks around the bathroom and finds a small tapping device hidden under the sink, which shocks her. Realizations and risky moves. Violet returns to her table, and Henry notices she's upset. She quickly makes up an excuse, saying she's nervous because she and Toby have never been apart, especially since his dad died. Then, her eyes land on another tapping device on the lamp at their table. A shiver goes through her as she realizes the dropper is listening to their conversation. Violet tells Henry she's afraid of heights and suggests they move to another table. He agrees, and Matt gets them a new table. But another message from the dropper warns her not to switch tables, or Toby will die. Panicked, Violet pretends they came for the view and suggests they stay at their original table. Henry and Matt are confused, but agree. Matt returns to take their food order. Quietly, Violet asks the dropper what they want. The dropper tells her to get the SD card from Henry's camera, and it's up to her how she does it. Her heart pounding, she quickly takes off her watch and puts it in her purse, while Henry is looking away. After Matt leaves, Violet pretends she lost her watch, saying she had it on earlier. She asks Henry to go ask the hostess if she found it. He leaves, and Violet quickly grabs his camera from his bag. She finds several photos of the city mayor with suspicious people and financial records showing the mayor's corruption. Violet immediately pulls out the SD card and sits back down as Henry returns. He says the hostess didn't see her watch, just as the dropper tells her to go to the bathroom. She tells Henry she probably left her watch there and excuses herself. A moral dilemma. In the bathroom, a new message tells her to smash the SD card and flush it. Desperate to protect her son, Violet destroys the card. She then begs the dropper to get the masked man out of her house, but the dropper coldly replies that her job isn't done yet and tells her to check the towel dispenser. Violet opens the dispenser and finds a vial of liquid. To her horror, the dropper tells her to put it in Henry's drink and kill him, promising it will be quick and painless. Violet insists she can't kill someone, but the dropper replies that she can, because she's killed someone before. Shaken, Violet leaves the bathroom, wondering who the dropper is. She goes back to the table, and Henry is getting ready to leave, thinking she's not interested. He says they can do this another time, and walks away after paying. But in a desperate attempt to make him stay, Violet passionately kisses him. She asks him to stay, and he agrees. At this moment, they see Diane yelling at Richard before storming out of the restaurant. A dangerous plan. Henry and the Violet sit back down. Matt arrives to take their order, and the dropper urges her to finish the job. Phil starts playing the piano. Violet quickly gets an idea. She says she wants to tip the pianist. She takes out her lipstick and writes hostages and her address on a $20 bill, then gives it to Matt to give to Phil. Matt gives Phil the money. Violet turns to Henry and asks about his job. We learn he's been the mayor's press photographer for 5 years. She asks if the mayor is a good person, but Henry gives a vague answer. Meanwhile, Phil picks up the tip money and starts to leave. He sees the message Violet wrote and freezes in fear. Violet sees him trying to call someone, but the scared man quickly goes back to the piano and sips his drink to calm down. Just then, Matt brings their food, and Violet starts to eat her salad. She then finds something shocking in it: the consequences of a failed message. She immediately gets a text from the dropper, who says she messed up. Violet apologizes, but it's too late. We see Phil collapse after drinking something that was clearly poison. A horrified Violet checks her home cameras and sees the masked man knocking out Jen and then locking Toby in a room. The dropper then tells her to finish the job. Phil gets up and heads towards the elevator, but the dropper states that Phil won't leave the lobby alive. Panic rises in Violet, but she forces a smile and acts normal. She suggests to Henry that they should have some tequila to lighten the mood and heads to the bar. As Violet rushes away, she drops her purse and Henry sees her watch. At the bar, Violet orders 2 tequila shots and tries to put the poison in one, but the dropper tells her to do it at the table. Unveiling the truth. Back at their table, Henry gives Violet her watch, saying it fell out of her purse. He's upset because she's constantly looking around and seems uneasy. He urges her to be honest, saying he can help if something's wrong. At this moment, Violet has a flashback. The night she tried to shoot Blake but couldn't. Little Toby saw everything and was crying, and Blake unexpectedly pointed the gun at Toby. In the present, Violet talks about this terrible experience. She tells Henry she feels like a bad mother because she stayed with her abusive husband even after Toby was born, and he saw things no child should. Feeling bad, Henry shares that he was in a similar situation where someone he trusted turned out to be terrible. Many good people were hurt, and he couldn't stop it. He gently tells Violet that her ex-husband didn't take away her hope because she's still here, just like he is. Violet smiles and tells him he's a good person. She then pretends to forget the limes and asks him to go back to the bar. Henry agrees and leave. In that short moment, Violet sadly puts the poison in his drink. The confrontation. Henry returns with the limes and tries to drink the tequila, but Violet can't bring herself to kill him, so she spills wine on him on purpose, making him put down his glass. As Henry goes to clean himself, Violet gets a text saying, "That wasn't very smart." Moments later, Kara approaches Violet, asking if everything is okay. Noticing she's been distressed, she wonders if her date did something wrong and offers to help. But Violet says it's not Henry, it's something else. Kara then shares shocking news. Richard has been staring at Violet all night, even though he's on a date with another woman. The dropper revealed. Enraged, Violet goes to Richard with 2 tequila shots, one seemingly poisoned. She pretends to feel bad that his date left and offers him a drink, but the creepy man suddenly calls her by her name and refuses the drink. A confused Violet points out she hasn't told him her name. Realizing he's been caught, he tells her to sit down and reveals that he is, in fact, the dropper. Richard explains that he works for the mayor and was told to kill Henry, who is actually an FBI informant. He adds that DigiDrop texts can't be traced, making it easy for him to give her instructions. When Violet asks why they chose her, Richard says it was easier to frame her, since she has murdered someone before. Violet insists she didn't kill her late husband, but the old man doesn't believe her. However, a quick flashback shows that Blake almost shot Toby, but when he heard police sirens, he killed himself instead. Richard blames Violet for causing Phil's murder by trying to send a message. He brags that the video of her putting poison in Henry's drink is recorded, making it impossible for her to win. Now, her only chance to save her son is to kill Henry. A twist in the plan. At this moment, Henry walks in. Violet introduces him to Richard, saying they're old friends. She also offers him a tequila shot, which she supposedly poisoned. After Henry drinks it, she asks him to go back to their table and wait for her. Violet then tells Richard to have his man leave her house since the job is done. The dropper tells the masked man to leave immediately. Believing he has won, Richard happily eats his dessert while talking to Violet. But halfway through his meal, Violet suddenly drops a bombshell. She actually poisoned his dessert, not Henry's drink. The climax. Furious, the old man pulls a gun on her, but Henry unexpectedly jumps in front of Violet and takes the shot. Chaos breaks out in the restaurant as people run. Richard chases Violet and is about to shoot her when Kara steps in, causing him to shoot a glass wall instead. The enraged man violently stabs the bartender before focusing on Violet again. Richard points the gun at Violet, just as she notices the cracked glass behind him. He also tells the masked man to go back to the house and kill Toby. Then, Richard falls through the broken glass and dies. Violet desperately holds on to a tablecloth that caught on something. Fortunately, an injured Henry comes to her rescue and pulls her back into the restaurant. The race against time. After this, Violet checks her home camera and sees the masked man heading toward her son's room. She grabs Henry's car keys and urges him to call the police before running out of the restaurant. Violet speeds through traffic to get home. Meanwhile, Jen wakes up and searches for Toby. The masked man grabs Toby and tries to hurt him, so Jen stabs him in the leg before pulling Toby away. They lock themselves in a room and block the door with furniture. Unfortunately, the masked man breaks inside and shoots Jen in the arm. He also shoots the bed multiple times to kill Toby. Just as Violet arrives home, the masked man hears her. He quickly goes downstairs, where a determined Violet grabs a knife from the kitchen, ready for a fight. Moments later, the masked intruder enters the living room. Violet stabs him, but he easily overpowers her and throws her across the room. He then takes off his mask, and Violet is shocked to see it's the same man from the electric company from that morning. But before he can finish Violet off, a remote-controlled toy car with a gun sent by Toby suddenly arrives. Violet grabs it and shoots the intruder, finally ending the worst night of her life. The mother and son share a moment of relief and hug each other. Resolution. Sometime later, Henry is recovering in the hospital. The news reports that the mayor's office is involved in a money-stealing plan. Soon after, Violet visits him, and he thanks her for saving his life. Jen, who is also in the same hospital, teases them before leaving. The movie ends with Henry and Violet planning a second date. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting movie recaps like this.